The story opens with the Fringe Division of the FBI, dedicated to investigating unexplained occurrences associated with a parallel universe. Olivia, a young FBI agent, goes through numerous surveillance photographs capturing pale-looking, bald men dressed in plain black suits and fedoras. A flashback reveals a moment when one of these mysterious figures, drenched in blood with a large chest wound, confronts Olivia. Identified later as the Observers, this distinctive-looking stranger tells her a chilling prophecy. In every imaginable future, she has to die. This news leaves her in a state of unease as she struggles with its meaning. Back in the present, Olivia identifies the observer who had made contact with her from among the surveillance photos. However, Philip Broyles, a senior FBI agent who has also been inspecting the images, notes how similar they all appear. Interestingly, analysis of the scant blood samples reveals that the DNA does not match anyone on record. Instead, it reveals the presence of antibodies to the Spanish flu, a disease that's been extinct since nearly 1919. This goes on to suggest that the mysterious observer is at least 90 years old. Broyles attempts to assign guards to Olivia, suspecting that the mysterious man poses a threat to her. On the other hand, she maintains that the encounter was merely a warning about her approaching demise and does not pose any immediate danger. The story then shifts to a young teenage girl drawing the landscape of the city when she's suddenly gripped by a sharp pain in her head. She then turns a fresh page and begins to draw a man accompanied by his friend walking across the street. When finished, she tears it out and pursues the man to present her artwork. Upon seeing the sketch, the pair label it as twisted and dismiss it as the work of a troubled teen with a negative view of the world. As they walk away, they pass a construction site where tragedy strikes. An I-beam falls from a crane and fatally impales the man. The woman screams in horror as the sketch accurately depicts the gruesome accident. In the meantime, we find Walter, a scientist and consultant for the FBI, along with his son Peter, who also serves as a consultant for the FBI, busy in their lab. Just as Olivia pays them a visit, she receives a call from her colleague Lincoln about the construction site accident. He also informs her that the victim was given a strange sketch just moments before his death, a sketch that eerily predicted his fate. When Olivia speculates that it could be the work of an observer, she soon learns that the eyewitness described the culprit as a teenage girl. Elsewhere, we encounter the teenage girl, now identified as Emily, returning home to her family. While talking to her dad, she apologizes for the family having to move around frequently because of her, but her father gently reassures her. Meanwhile, at Fringe headquarters, Broyles expresses concern for Olivia after finding out about her extremely frequent visits to the health services in the past month. She reveals that she's just been having migraines, so he drops the matter. Broyles then brings up the mysterious observers and urges her not to take unnecessary risks until they have more information. However, Olivia believes that it's only fated that she was told she has to die the other day, and now she's investigating a case about a girl who can predict the future. Just then, Lincoln brings the news that they have managed to identify the girl from a nearby surveillance camera, and the two head out to search for the girl. Simultaneously, we find her on a bus on her way back home. Poor Emily starts to sense a pain in her head yet again. She then looks around and sees a man before she frantically begins to draw. After finishing the sketch, she turns around to give it to the man, but soon notices that he has already gotten off the bus. In a hurry, she rushes out of the bus and tries to find him, but loses his trail. In the meantime, Olivia and Lincoln manage to find Emily's home and pay the family a visit. When they ask her father, Jim, he lies about not knowing who the girl is. They leave the residence but eventually run into Emily right outside the building. Olivia and Lincoln reassure her that she's not in trouble and ask her some questions about the sketch. She reveals that she can just sense when someone near her is about to die, and she sees some sort of vision that reveals the accident. Before she could answer any further, Jim arrives and demands that they stop any further questioning. All of a sudden, Emily hesitates to answer as well. Jim then admits that he doesn't want the past to repeat itself, and shares how his daughter was experimented on by Massive Dynamic due to her unique ability. It turns out that the last time they tried to help researchers with Emily's abilities only resulted in Massive Dynamic hounding them wherever they went. It initially started with people approaching them to question Emily about her ability, but always ended with them taking her away to use her as a test subject for their experiments. This sort of harassment had got to the point where they had to move from city to city to avoid Massive Dynamic from hunting them down again. It comes to light that this company is run by none other than Olivia's adoptive mother, Nina, herself. In the end, she leaves Jim her card in case he changes his mind. Following these events, Olivia decides to confront her mother at Massive Dynamic regarding the experiments conducted on children. Nina reluctantly admits to the existence of such experiments and acknowledges that they had approached Emily's family with an offer to monitor and research her abilities, although they declined. This revelation leaves Olivia speechless, especially since she herself was subjected to experimentation as a child as part of a medicine trial called Cortexiphan. As such, she criticizes these actions as abuse, unable to understand why her mother would even consider subjecting a child to such treatment. Just as the two are arguing about this matter, Olivia receives a call from Emily asking to meet her. Afterward, Olivia takes off to meet Emily and finds her on a bench overlooking a peaceful lake. She then reveals a drawing she drew on the bus that depicts a future event involving one of the men who was on the bus with her. In the sketch, she draws numerous lifeless bodies with the man positioned at the center. Emily then explains that although the bus stopped, she lost track of the man before she could give him the drawing. Later on, Olivia escorts Emily to Walter's lab, where the scientist equips her with sensors to monitor her brainwave activity. It comes to light that Emily is drawing more blood and oxygen to her brain than normal people. She then recounts that her first vision occurred at age 11, leading to visits to doctors and tests. Upon further inspection, Walter shares his hypothesis that some traumatic events in the future can ripple backward in time like vibrations. Some individuals may sense these ripples and foresee events, and perhaps Emily's brain is more attuned to such vibrations. In the end, she admits that she can't control the visions or change the outcomes, but shares them to give people a chance to say goodbye to someone they love. Eventually, the man from the bus is identified as Albert Duncan, and FBI agent Astrid sets out to uncover his address. Meanwhile, Jim arrives at the lab after being informed by Olivia to ease his concerns. With his consent, Walter proceeds to hypnotize Emily in an attempt to extract further details from the vision she had. After finding Duncan's address, Olivia and Lincoln head to his apartment, but find it deserted. In the meantime, Emily is hypnotized under Walter's guidance and is transported back to the moment on the bus when she initially saw Duncan. She's then directed to trail him, but eventually witnesses an explosion with lifeless bodies around. Eventually, she catches sight of Duncan buried in the rubble with a remote detonator and a Latin phrase on the debris. Peter then shares that he had encountered the same Latin phrase at the courthouse, leading to the realization that the explosion will occur at or near a courthouse. Besides this, the agents also discover that Duncan had recently lost a custody battle of his children. So they deduce that his target is a courthouse and he intends to blow it up. Shortly after, the police swarm around the courthouse as a precautionary measure and evacuate the building. Likewise, the bomb squad combs through the parking levels and successfully locates the explosive device. Simultaneously, Jim notices a black van across the street and immediately assumes that someone is targeting his daughter, but she disagrees. While he urges the family to start packing, Emily instead begins to sketch. In her drawing, a man sits on the bench by the lake where she and Olivia first met. Back at the courthouse, Peter requests everyone to tune their radios to the frequency at which the bomb is set to receive signals. At the same time, Duncan finally locates the judge and threatens to make him suffer. When he activates the explosive, nothing happens due to the jamming of the signal. The officers arrest Duncan, who reveals that he's wearing a vest rigged with explosives. As tension rises, Olivia urges him to recognize that the future isn't predetermined. She then reminds him that he holds the power to shape the lives of those around him and urges him to consider the innocent bystanders. Moved by her words, Duncan eventually gives in and the police arrest him for good. Following this, Olivia reaches out to Emily and leaves her a message that her father overhears. He then rushes to inform his daughter that one of her visions hasn't materialized, but doesn't find her in her room. This leads him to believe that Emily may have been taken by the people in the van, but a search by the police reveals that it's unrelated to her disappearance. On the other hand, Olivia has an idea of Emily's whereabouts and heads to the lake along with Lincoln. At the lake, the agents find Emily shivering with a cold and call for an ambulance. Just then, they notice a sketch next to her that depicts Olivia looking at her and a man on the bench who resembles her father. To lift up her spirits, she reassures Emily that they managed to avert one of her visions. Soon after, Jim arrives and sees the sketch as he takes a seat beside his daughter. Emily then reveals that she has sensed her fate for some time and consoles her father as he breaks down in tears. She goes on to state that everyone has a purpose and believes that she fulfilled hers by saving those people. And with her father by her side, Emily peacefully passes away. Afterward, Peter reveals that the tragic cause of Emily's demise was her extraordinary ability being too heavy for her delicate brain. This led to an electrical overload that triggered a fatal stroke. He explains that there would have been no way to prevent it due to the sheer magnitude of the strain on her brain. Just then, he notices a picture of an observer, leading Olivia to ask him for more information. Peter goes on to explain that the observers transcend time periods and are woven into every moment of history. He then clarifies that they don't merely predict the future, rather, they have experienced it firsthand. However, Olivia still keeps her encounter with an observer a secret. Later that night, Nina pays a visit to Olivia to ensure she's coping after their confrontation at Massive Dynamic regarding Emily. She also apologizes for her earlier behavior and acknowledges the challenges that Olivia has faced. However, Olivia assures her mother that she holds no grudge and shares her recent struggle with migraine headaches instead. The story wraps up as Nina offers to arrange for her a new medication they've been developing at Massive Dynamic.